Hey everybody, welcome back to ItKindaWorks. Now, you might not realize this, but believe it or not, today marks the 100th video to come out of ItKindaWorks. So, way back when I think I hit maybe 1,000 subscribers, I decided, hey, that was a crazy milestone for me to have 1,000 people subscribe, and I did a giveaway. And it was pretty basic. I gave away like one ESP and maybe a little power regulator. And, you know, it was just in the United States. Well, now that I've hit 100 videos and I'm at somewhere closing in on 16,000 subscribers, I think we can do a little bit better. So today I wanted to show you guys the ItKindaWorks giveaway Hackbox. My Hackbox is basically my go-to essentials kit. It has basically one of everything. So whenever I'm in my car, if I'm on the road doing something and I need to quickly whip something up, I had my Hackbox. So I just spent the past few days thinking about, what could I do for this giveaway? And I came up with this little box right here. So we're gonna go through this box, and then at the end of the video, I'm gonna tell you guys how you can enter to potentially get everything inside of this box. All right, so let's get started. All right, now I'm not gonna open up and show you guys everything all at once. Let's draw this out. Let's make it a real ItKindaWorks video. All right, so starting with the basics. So we got baggies upon baggies. We're going to go through everything here. So we got some 220 ohm resistors and some 1K resistors. Now 220 ohm and 1K. 1K is really my go-to resistor for just about everything. You know, you can use it for a pull down on a button. You can use it as, you know, for voltage splitters, for all sorts of purposes. And 220s, well, they're pretty decent all around. You can use them for, you know, LEDs or, you know, basically the same thing as 1K. It's a really good general purpose value. So we got those. Those are our resistors. And then I also have some little trim pots here. I have 1K and 10K. And I just find these really useful. I haven't really had them until recently. Whenever I needed a trim pot, I just salvaged it from something. But, you know, I think these are going to be really useful in future projects of mine, so I felt like we might as well include it here. All right, so that's little baggie one. Just starting off with the basics here. So let's pile that all up and put it here. Try to keep things a little bit organized here. We're gonna get pretty messy, I think. All right, baggie two, well, what goes well with resistors is basic starting components, capacitors. So we got a bag of 1,000 microfarad capacitors. We have a bag of 100 microfarad and 100 nanofarad. That comprises most of what I use for my projects. I mean, you guys, if you watch these videos, you know that we use, you know, 1,000 microfarad and 100 nanofarad all the time in our power regulators. And I figured I'd throw 100 in there just, you know, just to be safe. So there's our capacitor bag. Now moving into, let's see, what should we do next? Well, we'll go to the power situation next. So this baggie, we got two pairs of little power clips here. I use these all the time as just general purpose little clips. I use it for power. I use it to connect, you know, anything that I want to be able to kind of hot swap on a project. I love these little power connectors, and we got two little matched pairs. We got some HT7333 voltage regulators. I think there are only two in here right now, but I'm going to put more in there. These are the regulators I always use when I'm making ESP projects. If I need some sort of separate power regulation, it's usually one of these plus 1,000 and 100 nanofarad capacitor. They work great. So we got a couple of those. We've got a few USB 2.0 male and female connectors. Again, really useful for, you know, setting up any little projects. If you want some USB power and you don't want to chop a cable, we got those. All right, so now we got some just very basic 2N222A NPN transistors. And then if we need something bigger, we got some N-channel MOSFETs here. I forget the specific on these, but it's like FRQ something, something, something. They're, you know, high-powered N-channel MOSFETs, pretty basic. And then we have some little adjustable switching regulators. So these are really great. They got a little trim pot right on board, a little tiny thing on there. You just power in, power out, and they're really nice regulators that you can just adjust if you need to go from, you know, 12 volts to 5 volts, 12 volts to 3.3, whatever it is. These are really good. Whenever I need some high-powered thing or some weird funky voltage, I almost always go for these for anything that requires more than, you know, 100 or 200 milliamps. All right, so that wraps up our sort of power and control bag. What else do we have here? All right, so here is my output bag. So what do we have in the output bag? We have LEDs, so just an assortment of red, green. Maybe I'll toss in some other colors there. Just, you know, basic little LEDs. And all right, so this is technically an input, or it's a transistor. It's an infrared transistor. We have a couple of those, but since we almost always pair infrared transistors with infrared LEDs, I figured we'd, you know, keep those in the same baggie. So we have LEDs and some infrared transistors. And this, you know, just basic WS2812 addressable LED strip, basically like NeoPixels. Just, you know, 5 little bits of those. You can chop them up or leave them as a single unit. Again, I really like having, you know, any kind of light, you know, LED for testing and demo purposes are really, really useful in prototyping. All right, what else we got in here? We have a little servo motor. So, you know, I don't often use servos. I'm not, you know, I don't do a whole lot of mechanical projects, but I do like to keep these little tiny guys around. So there we go. There's our outputs. And by the way, guys, if you have any thoughts or anything that I don't cover in this box that you think I should put in it, definitely let me know down below. You know, I'm totally open to adding more stuff. This is just like, I was racking my brain for what do I think is like essential to have. And, you know, I started with an Altoids tin and I realized I can't fit nearly anything that I really want in an Altoids tin. So definitely let me know if you know, change anything or add anything. Let me know down below. All right, so now, you know, we got some little basic output. We had some boring stuff. Now we're gonna get to some good, interesting stuff here. So what do we have? We have a capacitive soil sensor. So yeah, about a month or two back, I started working on a little plant watering project. You guys might have noticed that, you know, we haven't really put anything out related to that project. Well, you know, I realized after making that video and making those couple videos, I know nothing about planting anything or anything, you know, growing plants. I have like a black thumb. So, you know, I wanted to make a video about capacitive soil sensor. Maybe at some point in the future, I'll pick up that project again, but, you know, I'm not the kind of person who just is going to make a video to try to show you guys something that I genuinely know nothing about. You know, I kind of dabble in knowing a bit about stuff, but I know nothing about planting anything. So I realized I really needed to take a step back and, you know, learn how to plant and grow plants before making a video on how to automate that at, you know, yourself. Anyway, we got a capacitive soil sensor. It can also be used as just any kind of capacitive. You know, you can use it for capacitive touch or something like that. Pretty cool little sensor. So we got one of those. We've got some reed switches. So if you don't know what a reed switch is, it's basically a switch, a little couple pieces of metal encased in a little glass sort of vial, and they're magnetic switches. So you bring a magnet close to it, and it closes the two sides of the switch, and then you take the magnet away, and it opens it back up. So pretty useful. I like them. What else we got? We got a whole little baggie of just really basic little single pole double throw switches. Just, you know, these ones, honestly, I'll level with you guys, they're not the best switches around, but they do fit in a breadboard. So, you know, when you're prototyping and you just need a little switch, it kind of hurts on the finger, but I use these all the time, so I figured maybe you guys might like to use them too. All right, next up we have a DS18B20 temperature sensors. I love these little sensors. They're pretty accurate, and they go up to a pretty high temperature, somewhere in the hundreds. I use these, I have like 3 or 4 of them around the house to kind of monitor temperatures around the house and outside. They're really nice little sensors. So we got a couple of those, maybe 4 or 5 of those in there. And we got some little tactile, just little push buttons, just little basic breadboardable push buttons. We got some photocells, again, useful for, you know, monitoring when it's light in a room or if the sun is set or anything like that. And then lastly, in our input bag, we have little piezo discs. Now these, you know, can obviously be used for both input and output, but for me, I'm usually using them as an input. And they're really nice. You can use them, you know, to detect vibration or, you know, any number of uses. When I was a really little kid, I remember making something that could, you know, detect, you know, it's basically a pressure sensor, but more like a, you know, flexing pressure sensor. And it could, you know, be a basic alarm for somebody stealing something. So, you know, that's pretty cool. So there are our inputs. And again, this isn't comprehensive, but it is a really good set if you just want a little prototyping box around. This is what that's all about. All right, so now we're getting down. We're gonna save some of the goodies for later. Next up, we got, you know, a whole slew of headers, and we got both male and female headers. I just tucked the male ones in here. I'll be honest, I didn't have a full length of male ones, so the male ones, there are a couple breaks in here, but, you know, that I don't think that should matter too much. But headers are always useful, so we got some of those. And then, you know, like I said, I started with an Altoids tin. Here's the tin. And what we have in here is our own little mini Hackbox. No, not really. We got basically just basic hardware. So we got a little bit of duct tape. You guys know me, I love duct tape. You know, just maybe a couple feet or so. Just enough for, you know, patching something or sticking something, you know, double looping it back so you can solder on it. You know, basically just, you know, some tape. Some heat shrink tubing. Guys, I didn't use this for the longest time. I just used duct tape or electrical tape wrapped around wires. I almost never do that anymore. I use heat shrink tubing. This stuff, it's a little bit of a pain in the ass. You have to remember to slide it onto the wire before you solder. But if you can remember to do that, heat shrink is the way to go. I mean, it's really changed how my projects look and how long they last. We got some basic little jumper wires, just, you know, for breadboards. Pretty useful, I think. And not to be outdone, we have both duct tape and we got a little thing of electrical tape. So, you know, pick your poison, whichever you think is going to work best for your project. Got some zip ties. I'm always using zip ties. You know, you have excess wire, you over accounted for your wire, and you need to, you know, wrap it up and make it nice and neat. We got some zip ties. And lastly in this box, just, you know, a little bit of solder. Just, you know, I think it's maybe about 4, 5, 6 feet. You know, as long as you have something to heat it up, I think it's useful to have some solder. So that's what we got in this little box. All right, sorry about that. The cards were running out, so we got that all swapped over. All right, what do we have left? Well, we've gone through most of the box here. We got a couple of loose ends to tie up. So we got a USB cable. I'll double check and make sure this is not a power only cable and make sure it's a data cable. But as you'll see in a moment, we got some things that, you know, might be useful to have a USB cable around. All right, and well, we have a little USB power adapter. This is, you know, just your standard Apple iPhone charger adapter. Figured give you guys, you know, a real nice adapter rather than one of the crappy ones. You know, always nice to have some of those. We got a couple of breadboards, some big, some small. These are just from my personal collection. They, you know, might be a little bit beat up on the bottom, but, you know, they work well. I like the little small ones for first prototypes of small things, and I really only use the big one if I really need the space. So there we go. We got some breadboards. And this is actually pretty cool. So this is a little project box, not really anything special specifically about that. But if we open it up, hopefully I can get it open here. There we go. We have got inside this prototyping board. Now, again, it's, you know, looks kind of like your standard prototype board, except it's been specifically designed to fit into this little box, which is really nice. And it's wired up. It's got, you know, sockets for input power, and it's like, I'll include a link to the schematic, but it's basically, it's a breadboard in a circuit board. And it's really, really nice. I've used this now a couple of times. And this is actually sent to me by one of you guys, John. Thank you, John. These are really, really cool. I've only used maybe one or two so far, but these are really, really cool. So I wanted to include these. I think I'll be including two, even though I only have one in here right now. I'll be including two little boxes and two boards. And, you know, I think once you get off the breadboard, it's really important. Something I've been trying to do a lot more lately is really make some kind of enclosure for my projects so that the people who see them don't be, you know, aren't like, ugh, that's, well, it works, but it doesn't look good. So wanted to include some little project boxes here. So there we have it. All right, now I've saved what I think is the best for last, and that is, of course, the microcontrollers. All right, so let's go through what we have in here. We have an LC Tech serial relay module. So you guys, if you've been watching the videos recently, I did do a video showing this, and I have a video coming out shortly that is actually a more in-depth look at this little thing. But basically, it's an ESP01 stuck onto a little board that has a chip. And rather than driving the relay directly from a pin on here, it's actually controlled via UART serial. So you send a couple of bytes to this chip down here, and it flips the relay on, and you send a couple more bytes and it flips the relay off. And what's cool about it is not only is it a little relay controller, but it also has power regulation on board. It's got some nice, block terminals and some headers for power and serial. It's just a really nice little module, and I wanted to include that for you guys. So we got one of those. We've got a couple of Digisparks. So you guys may or may not know what these are. So these are basically ATtiny85s with some special firmware on them. And you can just plug this little board straight into a USB socket and upload code. And it's a really, really compact little microcontroller that, doesn't have a lot of pins, but if you just need to control, a relay or motor or something, these are really nice little 5 volt and 3.3 volt microcontrollers. All right, we got a couple of OLED screens. So I don't remember off the top of my head the resolution of these, but they're standard. I'll put it in the description. They're really useful if you need a little bit of output, at all times, but you don't want to have any, you don't want to have your computer connected for serial output. So we got a couple of those. This, I actually have not used this, but I had a couple laying around. We got a Teensy 3.6. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I love the Teensy line. you know, basically when the Teensy 3.6 came out, I already had lots of Teensy 3s and Teensy 2s. I never really had a specific need for the power of the 3.6, but I had a couple of them lying around and I figured, hey, if I'm not going to use them, well, might as well give them away, or at least give one of them away. So we got a Teensy 3.6, and then, come on you guys, what is the last thing that I got in this box? What do we use all the time on this channel? Wemos ESP8266s. We got 2 of them. So that rounds out this project box, this hack box. We got, you know, basically what I think is one of everything that you could possibly need for any, you know, starting project. Now, we got 1 or 2 last little things right before we get to the end here. Wanted to, you know, make this a little bit personalized, a little bit special. So for whoever gets this, I have a little ItKindaWorks keychain. Just little dangly keychain that I cut on the laser cutter and etched with IKW. ItKindaWorks. I have one of these on my keychain. Really, nobody else has any. So if you win this, you'll have the, you know, a very exclusive little keychain. And if you guys follow me on Twitter, you'll have already seen this before. But just a few days ago, I took my first stab at laser etching glass. So this is the first and only little ItKindaWorks laser etched glass. So I wanted to give that away because this, you know, it's a one-of-a-kind little thing that I made, and I wasn't originally going to give it away, but, you know, you guys are so awesome, and I just really, without you guys, none of this here would have been possible. So I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. I am blown away by the success so far that this channel has gotten. All right, enough of me talking about what's in the box. How do you get it? All right, so here are the rules to become eligible to receive all of this stuff here. You gotta either comment down below or tweet me at ItKindaWorks Inc. on Twitter, or send me, tag me in Instagram at ItKindaWorks. And what I want to hear from you guys is, what kind of stuff do you want to make with all this? What are the projects that you have in mind? It could be one big project. It could be lots of little projects. I just want to hear, what kind of stuff are you planning on doing with all of these goodies here? So if you let me know down below, also on Twitter at ItKindaWorks Inc. and at ItKindaWorks on Instagram, those are the 3 platforms that I check regularly. Let me know what it is that you want to make. Just, you know, put in your username, put in, you know, what you want to make, and in about maybe a month or so, sometime maybe towards the end of October or mid-November, I'm going to go through all the entries, and, you know, we'll see what, you know, what shines to me, what I think seems like a really awesome idea, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, so definitely, if you have any ideas for anything else you think that should be included that's, you know, reasonable, definitely let me know down below. If you like this video, definitely give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Let your friends know about this giveaway. I'm sure you guys got to have some nerdy friends that might think this is pretty, you know, pretty cool package. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions about this, go to itkindaworks.com/forum. If you want to help us out today, go to patreon.com/itkindaworks. All right, guys, thank you all for being such amazing subscribers and viewers. I'll see you all in the next video.